is the purpose of setting up a trust? For most of us, it is a method of financial planning to take care of your assets the way we want them to be taken care of should we pass away. For others with a young family, there's also a designation of financial and physical caregivers for young children. Mainly, though, a trust is set up by trustors who will designate the trustees to manage the assets. Normally, it is themselves. After all, who would you trust best to manage the assets? Yourselves, right? But what happens when there is a change in management? Will the new trustees follow the directions set down by the old trustee and stated in the trust agreement? A transaction came across our desk that completely caught us off guard as to how easily the actual purpose of a trust can be overlooked. There's no ending to the story as of posting time, but there were so many red flags that I just had to share them in what I call an educational moment. Escrow agents are not allowed to dispense legal advice, but after 40 years in the business, we learn a few things here and there. And when something weird comes up, our eyebrows can hit our hairline and we have to keep repeating, "Did you check with your legal counsel?" A borrower was trying to refinance his house for a loan of over $1 million. The property was under his trust, and he was the sole trustee of the trust. He had two things going against him. He was having a hard time qualifying for the loan, and he needed additional co-borrowers to help. In addition, the lender was reluctant to lend to a trust entity and wanted the ownership out of the trust and in himself as an individual. So here are the choices that the borrower discussed with the lender. Choice A, take the property out of the trust. Unfortunately, this was not an option for him. For him to change ownership to an individual would require his wife to sign a quitclaim deed so that the property would become his sole and separate property under California community property law. Unfortunately, this person was in a strained marital relationship, and he refused to give the wife an opportunity to claim the property as community property. Choice B, adding co-borrowers to qualify for the loan. Now, how would that work? If the property could not be taken out of the trust, how could he add co-borrowers? He could give them each a percentage interest in the whole property, of course. But if he does so, would they be willing to sign a quitclaim deed later to remove their interest once the refinance is finished? And if they do sign such a quitclaim deed, do they realize that they would still remain as borrowers on the loan and their credit could be affected if the loan goes south? Finally, choice C, adding the co-borrowers to the trust as additional trustees. What? Wow. Now, this was a new idea that took us by surprise, and so is now the main focus of this presentation. There are so many things wrong with this scenario. But first question is for the lender. Will the lender really agree to include the credit of the co-borrowers into the loan when they know that this is all a ruse for the borrower to qualify for that loan? Will this really be acceptable to the lender? And if yes, will the lender require to see a deed recorded and to public record and show title of the trust changed and naming the old and the new trustees? So major concerns. And our most important question to the client was, did you talk to your attorney? So you see why this transaction caught our attention. The borrower is trying to find creative ways to solve his problem. And these ways could have terrible, unintended consequences in the future. In summary, our questions. The trust agreement is a legal document governed under the probate code. Whoever are the trustees will have a legal obligation and responsibility to act in accordance with the trust agreement. Are they willing to do that? Number 2, would adding them on as trustees also give them the power and ability to make decisions for the trust? Number 3, once the refinance is done, will the added trustees be willing to sign paperwork to amend the trust back to what it was before and to amend the ownership back so that their names are taken out? And once their names are taken out, what happens to the mortgage debt on the property that has their names on it? Will they continue to be held responsible for that? And number 5, horror of all horrors. What if the original trustee passes away before the other trustees can be removed? As a surviving trustees, would they be able to revoke the whole trust and then do whatever they want with the assets? I am sure that there are other questions that you have for this borrower. As mentioned, this is an ongoing transaction, so there's no resolution yet. But the educational moment that I find important is that the borrower should not be treating his trust, his financial planning tool, this legal document, in such a haphazard manner. Hopefully, he is just throwing ideas out there. But whatever his decision, I hope that he will get some good legal counsel before actually changing his title of the ownership or changing the trust. Because, once it's done, it's going to be hard to revert it back, right? Quite the crazy story, isn't it? Did it make you open your eyes wide too? This is Juliana too. Thank you for watching one of my videos on my Think Escrow channel. Give me a like. Subscribe, and you'll get my postings as soon as they are up. Thank you, and see you in my next video.